Yo, what's going on, Hoops Tribe? We're in for another episode of Let's Talk Hoops, and it's been another action-filled week in the WNBA. We got Skylar and Nneka reaching new career heights. Veronica Burton is becoming a star in Golden State. Asia Wilson is moving up in the WNBA ranks. Sanaya Rivers makes her debut, and Caitlin Clark still flopping, and so much more. I'm Cassie Chantel. I'm here with Daedria one-on-one. Daedria, are you ready to do this?
I am so ready. This has been a long week, but a fun week of hoops.
So much fun. So, are you ready to give us the injury report?
Yeah, so our injury report is pretty much a little still the same. We have Ray Burrell, who's out for 6 to 8 weeks with her knee. Collier Copper, who's also out for 4 to 6 weeks with her knee. Alana Smith, whose quad injury is day to day. Natasha Mack is out with her back for 2 to 3 weeks. Shakira Austin, Rakia Jackson, and Tiffany Hayes are all still on concussion protocol right now.
Gotcha. And speaking of Tiffany Hayes, let's talk about the Valkyries. They're 2-1. So after watching their preseason, I think many people counted them out, including myself. I didn't like expect them to take down the Sparks because what? And I know the Sparks were missing a couple of key people like Rakia Jackson, but I just feel like the Valkyries are reaching a new level of chemistry. Veronica Burton scored a career high of 22 points and added 9 rebounds and 5 assists to steal the win over the Washington Mystics. And she did it while staying efficient. She was 54% from the floor. And in the win over the Sparks, she had 5 steals, but it was Janelle Salaün and Carla Late who went off offensively. Salaün had 18 points. She was 4 for 8 from three. Late had 19 points off of the bench, 2 for 2 from three, 70% from the floor overall. Both of these players hail from France. Something else notable about these wins is that they were without Tiffany Hayes. Tip played just 12 minutes in the Mystics matchup and was out completely against the Sparks. There was also no Monique Billings in either matchup. I think this five that they're running with favors, ball movement, and I'm loving what I'm seeing from Timmy Fagbenle. What are you seeing with the Valkyries?
Yeah, they're favoring ball movement, but also they're leaning heavily into zone defense, which has been throwing off a lot of teams. Not only that, but they're sending doubles to a lot of players too, which is affecting them. So I think on the defensive end, they're creating a ton of turnovers, which is leading to them capitalizing on points on the offensive end. I like their effort. I like a lot of what they're doing. But then again, I'm actually not too surprised because these are some of the better defensive players that we've had in this league, as well as internationally, that are competing on this team. Um, also, there, I thought it was really funny that Natalie said in one of the post-game interviews that she's actually encouraging them to not take threes and not settle for threes only. That she's encouraging them to get into the paint more, to drive more, to hit the mid ranges more. So I think we're going to see a lot of that being mixed up within their offense. And now, my favorite rookie duo, as we know, is Kiki and Sonia. But I think Carla as well as Janelle can give them a run for their money as like a really good rookie duo coming up.
They are a really good rookie duo. I love the point that you made about zone defense. I don't think a lot of teams in the pros, turn to that. So I'm really happy to see the Valkyries do that. We saw the Mystics do that recently. And we may see it more as the season progresses because zone does take a lot of communication. Not saying that man to man doesn't, but zone just takes a different level of communication and being in sync. So I look forward to seeing more teams implement some type of zones. I also think that their success is based on Tiffany Hayes not being in the starting lineup or not playing as many minutes. I mentioned it in a previous episode that I think that she's taking on this role of wanting to be a high usage player, wanting to be that standout scorer. But with her off the court, they just move the ball a lot better. They're playing a lot of team ball, which is what they're going to need to rely on, just realistically looking at their roster of players and the fact that they are built heavily on international players. That's the MO for Euro basket or Euro style basketball. So I really like what they look like without Tiffany Hayes. And I hope that Natalie, and I'm sure she is, taking in account to what it may look like in that lineup.
And I would also like to add, I believe we said this in the last episode. Tip is always on the ground, and Tip has got another concussion from running into players and being on the ground. So I would really like to see that controlled a little bit more when she does come back. Because to your point, with Eurobasket coming up, there's going to be 7 games that players are missing. And I believe that the Valkyries themselves are going to be missing about 3 or 4 players for that 7 games.
Hmm.
So they're gonna need that leadership, right? They're gonna need the assistance. They're gonna need Tip to step up and not really play so much iso ball because the offense gets stagnant. They don't cut, they don't move when she's got the ball because they know she's just going to drive to the paint and try and get her shot off.
Right. And I will say, I understand now the choice of having Veronica Burton in that starting lineup over Julie Van Loo. Coach Nakase saw her potential and wanted to give her that time to adjust and gain confidence. And sometimes that's really what a player needs is for a coach to believe in them and give them that time. And I think that's what happened with Veronica Burton and why we're seeing her success. Julie Van Loo has broken that starting lineup now that they have, Tiffany Hayes out. So I guess there was some compromise on my end. So I wanted to see Julie Van Loo in the starting lineup. I hate that it came on the expense of an injury, but a win is a win.
Exactly.
The Valkyries are becoming a fun team to watch though, because it's the fact that they're underdogs, and that is just a really sweet storyline. I know a lot of people were skeptical of them, just based off of the cutting of Cheyenne Sellers, and I think, time showed why that was necessary. Time showed why Veronica Burton in that starting lineup was necessary. I think that this is a true team of us having to trust the process, and I'm really liking what I'm seeing from them. How about you?
Yeah, I really enjoy watching them play. I mean, they were frustrating the hell out of me when they were playing the Mystics, but I get it, right? And I also now understand why our favorite Letitia Mary got cut. Seeing Janelle Salon play, I get it. I understand why they cut LA in favor of her. I mean, she's a very dynamic 3-level scorer, and her defense, man, her defense is so pressuring. On the other hand, I am a little bit sad for Kate Martin's slow start, but I'm glad that she was able to get a few points up in the last game. Y'all need to stop coming for Money Martin. This girl has been battling injuries. Come on, her hand's been injured. But the thing is, I get it, right? A lot of us like to focus on the offensive production of a player, and if we're not getting a lot of offensive production, then we think that they should come off the bench or they should be moved to something else. But Kate Martin is what Kate Martin has always been. If her offense and her shots aren't falling, she's going to give you that defensive effort. She's going to run for those 50-50 balls, which is what she's been doing. So I give her a little grace, and I ask everyone else to please as well. We're going to see the Money Martin that we love coming back soon.
I hope so. And one last thing on the Valkyries, I want to address some of the discourse that we saw during the draft of people being upset that they drafted so many international players. I'm a fan of international players. I do think that there should be some changes in the draft rules surrounding international players to make it fair for domestic players. But overall, I like the diversity. I think that the Valkyries are in a unique space to spearhead being one of the most diverse teams in the WNBA. And I think that that's a beautiful thing. Do you have any thoughts on that?
I'm in the same boat as you, man. I love international players, and the reason why is because when I was watching Eurobasket and even the Olympics, I fell in love with like the grit and the intensity that a lot of them have, which reminds me of a lot of our domestic players over here. And here's my take on it. If our domestic players are sought after to go play internationally during the off season, there's no reason why international players cannot be in our league playing during our season. I think fair is fair, right? If we're gonna be crossing that bridge and bringing one set of players over to one place, I think it's fair to bring the other set of players over as well. I do think that they'll adjust the age limit a bit because I've noticed that a couple of the younger international players, they either delay them for a year or two for development, i.e., what happened to Carla Late when she was drafted to Dallas last year. Also, in addition to delaying them, the ones that decide to come over and play, some of them aren't like ready quite yet, which is why we had Camilla B get cut from the Connecticut Sun. She was 19 years old, about to be 20, but developmentally she wasn't quite there yet. So I understand and I get that people get frustrated by it, but I always say it's a good opportunity for the players that were waived to be able to come back and fill in those roles for injuries or for Eurobasket when we have players out.
I really love all of those points, partner. Thank you. Thank you for that. So, since we were talking about the Valkyries, we have to talk about the Sparks because should we be worried about the Sparks? I know that they were missing Rakia Jackson and Ray Burrell, but did you really anticipate them losing to the Valkyries by like as much as they did? They were down by 20 at one point.
Absolutely not. I did not see that coming at all. I thought after the season opener, when they won against the Valkyries, that they would make a little bit of adjustments, but they did not look good this last game, like at all. And I'm wondering if that is more so. I love KP, love me some Skipper, but Skipper plays a lot of iso ball. There's a lot of turnovers that were caused by her, and erratic passing last game. So I'm wondering if it's just more time that Lynn needs to like figure out this lineup without Rakia. Because Rakia, they need more people to crash the boards, right? They need more people that are actually going to defend the teams that they go up against. And I think that's one of the Achilles heel that they're having right now is their turnovers and their lack of defense on plays. And they're being outpaced. They were completely outpaced by the Valkyries last game. So I'm not quite worried about them yet. I want to give them a few more games. I want to get Rakia back in a few games to see. So I give them about four more games before I start to worry. If we're still at a losing streak in four games, then I'm going to start worrying more.
Yeah, but what's interesting is that they turned the Valkyries over 14 times in that game, and they had only nine. And
Wow. Hmm.
right, so De'Erica Hamby was their leading scorer with 25 points, while Kelsey Plum had 16, going 2 for 10 from three. And this is what you mean about, Kelsey Plum playing some iso ball. And I think that while she's a great player, sometimes she takes really questionable shots. And that's why before the season started, I questioned her role being any different than what it was in Las Vegas because I still feel like De'Erica Hamby is that constant vet for the Sparks. I love watching Plum ball. She's exciting, but they're going to have to figure out a better way to use her than just have her jack up threes or, she's good at getting downhill, but I don't know. It looks like they're running somewhat of a triangle offense. They got to figure it out, like you said. They also run her off ball, so sometimes they rely on Odyssey Sims and Sarah Ashley Barker to bring it up in some scenarios. I think that's interesting. But we have to talk about Azurá Stevens because she's been tremendous through the first four games. She's averaging 15 points and nearly 10 rebounds and an assist and a block. If she can maintain this, she's on track to have the best season of her career and a shoe-in to me for most improved. Barker has had to step up in place of Jackson. She's been solid on both ends. Not the same presence as Rakia, of course, but she is improving. Lynn Roberts, in my opinion, looks visibly frustrated on the sideline. It's like they were cutting to her, and it was just like
Yeah.
her head was in her hands in moments. So I'm just curious to see how they continue to bounce back from this.
Yeah, and the thing about Z is we have to take into consideration she missed, I believe, 20 games last season. She missed half the season last season with her arm injury that she sustained in China. And doing Unrivaled has opened up her game quite a bit. She's always been a stretch big, right? She's always been able to knock down a three. She's always been a rim protector. She's always gonna get you like as many rebounds as possible. But I think now coming off of that championship win with Unrivaled, coming off of the just the style that the Rose team played and just the people that they had, you can see even her handles are looking better now. And I agree with you. I think that she does have a case to have one of the best seasons of her career. I've never seen Z look this good. Like she's out there killing it. And what I love about Sarah Ashley Barker is that I have never seen a rookie dive for so many balls. I have never seen a rookie take on any post player, any guard, any 3 or 4 player. She's taking on 1 through 5.
Yeah,
And
she's a
she's
dog.
up for the challenge. Like I love that. And yeah, Lynn Roberts had like my girl's going through it on the sidelines, okay? You could see it all over her face, man. And she actually mentioned during the last game post game conference that they were not running the plays that she set
Mm,
up in the second period. They weren't
mm,
running a single play.
wow.
And I think that's her frustration is you're calling a play, you're trying to get your team out here to lead and do what you're asking, and they're just ignoring you and not doing anything. Now, that happens at times, we know. Players like to go rogue, but I would like to see them implement a little bit more of the sets that she's trying to get in because when they do, they look a little bit more cohesive versus just freestyling it and hoping that a shot will fall.
I wish that they could see my face right now because I'm making the face of that my favorite emoji with the moon looking to the side. Because I don't want to speculate because I don't have the details. I'm not inside of the locker room, but I'm gonna speculate. And I feel like maybe that could be a little bit of Kelsey Plum wanting to be the quote unquote man
hmm
for the Sparks because she is the leader on the court. Whether, however I feel about De'Arica Hamby, I think that Kelsey Plum is a vocal leader for them and she brings the energy to the Sparks. So the encore leader is that PG. They gonna have to get it together, They gonna have to stay disciplined and do what the coach is asking. Because I want to see Lynn Roberts have a true shot and see what she has as a coach in the WNBA, but we're not going to see that if her team ain't, they ain't paying her no attention.
Listen, Hamby and Odyssey seem to be the only two that are on board with this program right now because KP's head is somewhere else just trying to hoop and get them through it. But KP, I need you to take a break. I need you to take a moment. But also, Lynn is playing her for 40 minutes at a time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and, like KP's last few numbers have been a full 40 minutes that she's been playing. So I'm gonna need to see some of the, and I understand, obviously they have Ray out, right? That would be a backup guard that would come in. But I need to see some other rotations of other guards in there instead of having KP be a full 40 minutes. Like, I think that's also where the issue is you're trying to get KP to just force the offense at this point. And if she ain't listening, you got to bench her.
40 minutes is actually insane. And
Right?
the fact that also, when players are fatigued, they also they do anything because you don't
Yep.
think straight when you're tired. So it sounds like a few things are going on in LA. So I know you're not worried, but I'm a little worried. So moving
Hey,
on into someone who I'm not so worried about, Sydney Johnson and the Mystics. I know the Mystics had a tough loss against the Aces. For the most part, they should be proud of competing against a team as vetted as Las Vegas, especially without Brittany Sykes. I liked a lot of the decisions I saw from Coach Johnson, especially running a 2-3 defense. We talked about that a little bit with the Valkyries. I think they have great team chemistry, especially between Sonia Citron and Kiki Iriafen. Those two really have each other's backs on the court, and you can see it. Sykes was tremendous in the effort against the Valkyries. She had 30 points. The Mystics' downfall this season will be their guard play. I've talked about it before. It's if they're gonna be relying on Suge Sutton and Jade Melbourne to be their primary decision makers, they're going to suffer. It's hard for me to say who I prefer over the other because they both have damning qualities. Like Jade
yep.
is undoubtedly the better scorer out of the two. But her decision making can be detrimental. Like that drive off the inbound in the game against the Aces was a wild and unnecessary attempt. They have to have the ball in Citron's hand in those moments.
Yep.
Sutton can be a more calming presence at guard, but her ability to produce offensively is just inconsistent. And if you're going to be that inconsistent with your scoring, you have to at least pass the ball well. That that's what you're here for.
Yeah.
Like she's the PG. And then you
Yep.
have, Stephanie Dolson, who's also struggling offensively with scoring. Her numbers are lower than her rookie season, like throughout these first four games. And I know it's just the first four games, but damn. And with Iriafen handling a lot of the work in the paint, I like to see her do more, or them as a team do more to get Dolson, some shots around the perimeter. She's had some big shots, but I like to just see her more involved on the offensive end. What are you seeing from the Mystics?
Yeah, I mean, I have the same frustration as you, right? When we were talking about this lineup and who would be in the lineup, my concern was with Jade. My concern was with Suge. My problem with Jade is I need her to develop more of a mid-range game. The driving into the paint when you have three defenders collapsing around you, kick that shit out. Kick the ball out to somebody else because 9 times out of 10, you are not going to get that foul. You're going to get a charge called instead. So settle for the mid range or kick that shit out instead of driving into the paint so much. And with Suge, a lot of her passes are just erratic, and that's been an issue. And it's not even as if it's just a issue while she's been in DC. No, that was the issue when she was in Phoenix last year. It was an issue when she came over to DC last year after being traded from Phoenix. So I think this is where having a Georgia Amore would work, right? Georgia's good at setting pace. She is a little bit more patient with her passes, which I think that's one of the things that started to kill us is there's not patience with these passes. It's just I'm going to time it and throw the shit up and hope someone gets it instead of waiting for the cut, waiting for the angle to hit it at. I think Sonia and Kiki have been doing wonderful with their pick and roll. And even their dribble handoffs have been looking good. Like their chemistry is there, and their chemistry has been building, and it's just gonna get so much better. With Dolson, man, when I said unrivaled helped some players and unrivaled didn't help other players, I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened between March and now, but Steph just she doesn't look as good as she used to, and I'm concerned for her. Like I want them to be able to get her into better positions, but I need more of an effort from Steph as well too, right?
Mhm.
Steph, you are 6'5". Please get a rebound.
Yeah.
Please get something, and I don't know if it's fatigue for her. I don't know if it's having to be like another vocal leader for her too. That's like a new role she's taking on that she didn't have as much to do last season. But I would like to see a little bit more effort from her. Or I don't know. I don't know. I also feel like with Aaliyah Edwards coming back, that's gonna help us out too
Oh my gosh, I can't
because,
wait.
her debut is tonight and I am so excited. I have been missing me some Edwards. Like, you talk about aggressive crashing those boards. You talk about not afraid to hit the mid range. You talk about not afraid to back down any post player. That's AE written all over it. So I do think getting her back will help. Um, I wanted to say, let's give Shakira a little bit more of a shot, but even Shakira's not feeling herself, man. Like, at
Man,
all.
listen, get her out of there. At this point, they got to use her for some trade bait or something, but I don't know if she even is going to be, you know, attractive for other teams. I just don't see it for Shakira. And I know that it's early in the season and she could have a complete 180, right? But right
Yeah.
now, what she is looking like, the energy that she is bringing to the team, I don't like it. And I don't think that it meshes well with what they're trying to do. And even outside of like the energy that she's bringing, when I realistically take a look at what the Mystics are doing offensively, where they're trying to go, I don't think that she fits the game plan. And I think that they really didn't have a chance to see that for themselves because of her injuries.
Right.
So now, that she has had a couple of games, I think that it's showing. And I would not be surprised to see, mid-season trades come about, and Shakira is one of those mid-season trades.
You know where Shakira could be useful?
Where
Dallas.
ah oh, don't get me started on that. We're gonna
She
get to Dallas.
she could be useful in Dallas, but no, I I really do like the team chemistry that's being built and whatnot. And one of the things I would like to note is watching these post-game press conferences really does give you a lot of insight into what they're thinking, what's happening with the team, where they're going, because they ask Kiki and Sonia about their chemistry. And the thing that Kiki, Sonia, Slim, and Lucy all do before a game is check in on each other. They check in with each other, they check in how they're feeling, what the approach is to this game, and they said that that's been very helpful. And I think more teams should do that if they aren't doing that,
Hmm.
because how else are you going to build chemistry with your teammates if you're not checking in and you're not constantly talking to them to say like, hey guys, this isn't working. She's really beating me in the post, so I need some extra help. Please do send some help side here. And communication, right? That's one of the best pieces to make everything work.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up Lucy Olsen. So, how are you feeling about her through these last few games?
So I knew she wasn't going to be used to her full potential. However, the game against the Aces was her best game yet. And that's the game that she's played the most minutes in yet. She was, I believe, three, either 2 of 6 or 3 of 6 from the field. But she was down there forcing jump balls. She had a lot of good defensive pressure on Jackie Young and Dana Evans. And I like that about her. At Iowa, she was known for her offense, and her defense wasn't really talked about. But I think she's a much better defender than she is offensively. And I think once she kind of gets set up to where they're running a few plays for her on the bench where she can actually hit her midi, which is automatic, or she feels a little bit more comfortable hitting threes because she did hit a couple of threes against the Aces. I think we're going to see her look better. And her trajectory right now is as I expected with her being someone coming off the bench. But how about you? What do you think of her?
Yeah, I think that she's been solid defensively. I think that she needs more reps so she can get a little more comfortable. I did see, just a couple of like rookie mistakes, a couple of costly fouls. But other than that, I think that she's been pretty solid. And I would like to see her develop more so she can potentially take up some more minutes because you already know how I feel about the guard play there. So if she can
Right.
take up some more minutes and then they get Sonya to the point where she's more confident with handling the ball, then maybe we'll see a little more ease in that guard rotation, or at least it might look better down the line if we can get Lucy more developed as the season goes on.
Yeah, and the thing about Lucy too is Lucy has the ability to play PG. She just needs the green light to be able to do that. And I think when you have her in with Jade or you have her in with Sutton, it's very hard for her to do that because they're looked at as the primary handlers. They're looked at as the facilitators. And I get it, they're fast, right? So they can definitely control the pace. But from what I saw of Lucy in Villanova and Lucy in Iowa, she has the ability to distribute. She has the ability to facilitate, but they just have to take a chance and actually let her do it.
You know who Jay reminds me of a little bit?
Who?
Kelsey Plum.
Yup. Yup.
But while we're talking about the Mystics, I wanted to have a conversation with you about who do you feel are the best coaches in the league at this point? Because at the end of the season, we're gonna have that conversation of who's the coach of the year. Right now, I have to say that Sidney Johnson is my favorite for the best coach in the league right now because he's just coming at this from a new perspective. I love that he's coming to a new league, a new organization, and is trying new things. They're the only team in the league that I have seen prioritizing offensive rebounds. They were one of the first teams that I saw, run a 2-3 zone on the Aces. He played his rookies in the preseason, and now his rookies are producing. He takes on a positive and reassuring approach to coaching. I'm just loving everything that I'm seeing from Washington at this point.
He's a great player development coach. Um, I've been speaking nothing but praises for this man since he was hired. When I saw what he was able to do in just FIBA 3-on-3, I knew I was like, okay, this is the guy. He's gonna bring a strong, even approach to what we need in the personnel that we have, but also he's very just like uplifting, right? As we've spoken about, he's very uplifting to the players, which is what you need with a young squad. He definitely is my early favorite for Coach of the Year, if he can get it. If not, I think it might be Sandy Brondello's to lose this season.
You took my thought. It definitely Sandy is still super solid, but why do you give it to Sandy?
I give it to Sandy because not only do the Liberty look like a well-oiled machine? And yes, I understand that they were returning quite a few of their core players, but the way that she was seamlessly able to slip Cloud into that lineup, right? The way that she was seamlessly able in the preseason to slip Beck Gardner into the lineup, to slip Phoebich into the lineup, to really make it work. And the fact that she's using Kennedy Burke as one of the first players off of the bench to rotate in, I think is smart. She knows her personnel. She knows the strengths of her personnel, and she's really running plays that allows that to show. And that's allowing us to see what some of the bench players have and what they can do. My only complaint is I need more Marine Johannes. I need her
Mhm.
to get Marine involved a little bit more.
I will say Johannes didn't look as strong in the recent game against Indiana that she has in some of the other games. So Indiana does have a different level of defense. So I don't know if that impacted her. Well, I'm pretty sure that did impact her. But
Yeah.
maybe, the decision is coming from her still adjusting to, WNBA defense.
That too. And I also think, as many people have said, playing in Gamebridge Fieldhouse itself is a whole other disorienting experience with how loud it gets in there.
Hmm.
And truthfully speaking, this is her first time playing with these new fans in Gamebridge. So I'm sure to her that was probably a shell shock than what she was used to playing like a couple of years ago when she would go to Gamebridge.
That's true. Now, since we're talking about the best coaches, we're going to move the spectrum to the opposite end.
Oof.
Let's talk about Dallas. Because I'm just very confused about what's going on in Dallas. But I had a feeling that I would feel this way when I got the news that Kurt Miller would be the GM. And I can't, now I know people are going to be mad that I said it, but I can't take any of Kurt's success from him. For all I know, he's a good man.
Yeah.
But his decision making threw me off all last season in LA. I think he's a huge reason as to why Rakia Jackson wasn't a higher draw in that Rookie of the Year conversation. I think his decision making kept Connecticut from winning that championship when they had Jonquel Jones and Courtney Williams. And until we see improvements in Dallas, the jury is still out on the decision to hire Conclanis as a head coach. He
Yep.
knows what he's doing defensively. Offensively, I don't know if he understands how to use the tools that he has. I also don't understand his rotations at the moment. I don't see a reason why we're not getting Isaiah James or JJ Quinterly minutes when Dejanay Carrington and Ty Harris have both been inconsistent. The game against Seattle, JJ was in for like literally maybe a minute. She made a
Yep.
mistake. She picked up some quick fouls, but she was playing against Skylar Diggins. That's easily one of the best guards of all time. That's going to happen. She has to have a chance to work through that. And not getting James time in a game like they had against Atlanta, to me,
Right.
is criminal. Not giving T Mac more time against Seattle when she was playing the best game we've seen from her in a season is criminal. But what are you seeing in Dallas right now?
I don't know what I'm seeing in Dallas. That's the problem. Like this free flowing, make it what you want offense is not working for them at
Mm-mm.
all. You, okay. Nay has always been known to be a better defender than she has been offensively. However, she was starting to finish at the rim a little bit better, right? She was starting to get a little bit more consistent with her threes. But now it just seems like because everyone is so out of sorts in the place that they need to be on the plays, no one is finishing well. No one is really, they don't really have that like sniper on their team. They don't really have that it factor right now. And I think that's what's causing them to struggle. I would love to see Isaiah James get more points. I mean, look at what she was able to do against the Aces in the preseason game, right?
Right.
I want JJ to get more minutes, and I don't understand if that is necessarily like a Kurt call or if that is a Chris call as to why they're not playing. And for the love of God, bench Arike. Bench Arike when she is going 1 for 16 or 1 for 5. Like, and that's the thing I think that helped Arike and Unrivaled is Spoon was not afraid to bench her. Spoon was not afraid to say, you need to take a timeout. I'm gonna throw another guard in here instead. And I think that that needs to happen because right now the backcourt of Paige and Enrique isn't working too well.
Mm-mm.
And I'm not sure if that's because Enrique still feels as if she's got to put the team on her back and take all of these wild shots that she practices. But the wild shots and the timing of the wild shots has just been very off, and it's been disrupting their offense. I
I
like
was,
Heinz. Oh,
oh,
sorry.
sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good, good. I like Heinz Allen, but you gotta get T-Mac in there. T-Mac has the height. She has a little bit more aggressiveness than Heinz Allen can bring. And I mean, especially when you're gonna be going up against post players like Camilla, right? Or post players like Tina, you need that height. You need that. You need that to help you out. But go ahead. What are your thoughts?
So I just wanted to bring up that Enrique has shot 28% through the first four games. The shot attempts were egregious in that Seattle loss, and I felt that game was winnable for them. And despite taking more attempts against Minnesota, I felt like she was trying to find balance, with her
Yes.
shot taking and with passing, but now her teammates have to meet the moment. I saw plenty of times where she'd make the pass and her teammates just weren't shooting the ball. And that's where I feel the rookies should come in. So even if we're going to keep Enrique on the floor, I think the rookies like Isaiah James and JJ Quinterly are a little more fearless. They're going to shoot the ball. I don't know what's going on with Ty. She looks like she's second guessing most of her shots, but I can say her shot attempts in that Minnesota game, a lot of them were because she just had to throw something up because they had gotten so deep in the shot clock. Because, like you
Yeah.
said, the offense is looking a little crazy.
Yeah. And I mean, I was worried when they did an interview with Paige and she said, yeah, our offense is just free flowing. He lets us make our own decisions. I'm like, okay, that can work to a point, but you have to have sets. You have to have things to challenge what the defense is throwing at you.
You know what that sounds like?
What?
Teaspoon in Chicago last season.
Stop. Yep.
No, that's exactly what they were saying about the offense in Chicago last season. And you saw what that got Teaspoon. So he might want to take your advice and throw in some sets.
Yeah.
Now, on, another note, Paige Beckers is still that efficient player. She's top 10 in both assists to like she's top 10 in assists to turnover ratio, and she's in good company, with Courtney Williams, Natasha Cloud, Sabrina Ionescu, and Skylar Diggins. So what are you seeing from Paige at this point?
The fact that Paige has only had, I think they said 7 turnovers over the last 3 games, uh, I think Paige is doing all right. And I think Paige is getting a true rookie experience right now, right? Yes, she's in the starting lineup. Yes, she's required to be aggressive, and yes, she's required to distribute a lot. But I like what Paige's trajectory right now. I think the more comfortable she gets, the more she's going to be hunting for her shot, the more she's going to take the initiative to actually get her shots off. I like Paige. I like where Paige is at. I think Paige is fine. Paige fans, please calm down. When a team gets the number one draft pick, they are going to lose quite a few games. Yes, we understand. This is different from college. This is different from UConn. You don't have a Geno coach in the Dallas Wings right now, okay?
Right. No,
So
that's for sure.
just give her a little bit of grace. Give the team a little bit of grace. Okay, if they end up with a losing season, okay, cool. Guess what? You got a better odds again, the number one draft pick again.
Yeah, and on that note, giving people grace. Maybe I should have gave Jewel Lloyd some grace with the Aces because right now she seems to be figuring out. The Aces seem to be figuring out the mesh with Jewel. After going 20% from the floor against New York, Jewel Lloyd had a 20-point performance against Connecticut on 50% shooting. She also came in clutch in a win over Washington. Watching those efforts gives me hope that, this is going to work. With her and Jackie Young having such a similar style of play, I just didn't see how it would work offensively because everybody want to eat, right? So
Yep.
it appears that Becky Hammon has them with a great mindset. They're looking really unselfish, especially in those final moments of that Washington game. And I think that shows that. So what are your thoughts at this point on Jewel Lloyd in with Las Vegas?
Yeah, I think she's meshing a lot better with Vegas right now. I like Masked Mamba needs to stay because Masked Mamba is killing it right now. I like her off-ball movements better. She looks a little bit more fluid and more smooth with it. Um, Also, can we talk about the fact that Asia is leading the Aces in assists right now?
That is crazy.
And she's leading them in all categories right now. And she had 5 assists the last game. Okay. So I'm liking what I'm seeing from the Aces. I have to praise Becky. She is going to the bench sooner. She's rotating the bench players in more, which we did not see that happen last season. So I think this could be a difference maker for the Aces if the bench does get a few more minutes. It's going to take some of the load off the starters, but it's also going to develop the bench more. It's going to get Kitley her confidence up. It's going to get KB her confidence up, right? It's going to get Aaliyah Nye her confidence up. Dana Evans has been looking like the best bench player so far, and
Hmm.
I am eating my words. And you know what? Thank you, Dana.
Right.
Thank you for making me eat my words because I wanted this for her. I wanted her to have a good season under a coach that's going to be like, you know what? You don't have the pressure to be a leader on this team. Just go out there and hoop.
Honestly, yeah. Shout out to Asia for reaching over 500 assists for her career. And I wish we had a category for most improved coaches. Because, yeah, you're right. Shout out to Becky Hammon for going to her bench. And as you said, like, thank you for Jewel and Dana for making me eat
Yeah.
my words because honestly, I want to. I don't want to be right about some of these things. We're just doing
Yeah.
this to be constructive. None of this is to attack people. So I am one of the first people to say, okay, I was wrong about this, or, they proved themselves to be more than what I anticipated. So yeah, shout out to them. I think their defense is still not up to par just yet, but as the season goes on, hopefully we see some improvement for that because a lot of that is chemistry and
Yeah.
communication and getting that down. And they aren't the only one who's struggling on those rotations. So giving the Aces some time to really figure it out with their new pieces. So moving into Seattle versus Phoenix, Seattle started off really shaky in their season opener, which was also against Phoenix, but have since started to build some chemistry. Skylar Diggins has been going absolutely insane. I'm so proud of Skylar. I want this type of season for her. Last season, she was so hungry. I could see the visible anger in how their season ended in the playoffs. But last season was her best season statistically. So, that's a testament to her really aging like wine. And I think that she's on track for this season to be even stronger than that. She had a career high of 14 assists against the Mercury the last time out. And through the first 3 games, she's averaging 22 points, 9 assists on 46% shooting. Gabby Williams is off to a balanced start as well, 10 points, 5 rebounds, and 3 assists through those first few games. Nneka is averaging 19 points, 11 rebounds, and almost 2 steals a game. Ezzy Magbagor, on the other hand, is off to a slower start offensively, just 5 points, but making up for it on the boards, averaging nearly 8 a game. But in order for them to really be the force that they have the potential to be, that I want them to be because they're one of my teams, they need Ezzy.
Yep.
Dominique Malonga has made her debut in limited minutes. She's only gotten about 16 minutes across 3 games. I think her impact is going to be a slow cook situation, but I can say she looked a lot better from game one against Phoenix to their most recent game against Phoenix. What are you seeing in Seattle?
So right now in Seattle, Skylar and Nneka have been on demon time. They I don't know what this new fire is that they both have. For Skylar, her I, I've never I have never seen Skylar have such crisp passes. Her drives are stronger. Skylar's always been a fearless player, but it seems like even more so now. She has nothing left to give about, and she is playing the most free that I've ever seen her. Nneka's playing like she got 2 brand new knees out there because I just no, it's true though, right? Because last season, when Nneka would come up and down the court, I was a little worried about them knees,
You
but
said she got new knees out there.
yes, she got some brand new knees. Her and AT. AT ain't got no shoulders, but they look like she got some brand new shoulders in there too. But no, like Nneka has been so efficient. And she's pulling like a Stewie style season where she's been quietly cooking in each game, and you don't even realize it until the end of the game. You're like, damn, Nneka, okay, you had 57% shooting, you had 60% shooting in this game. But I like how they look. I like Zaya Cook's energy off of the bench.
Hmm.
And I think, yeah, Dominique, she's getting used to playing over here. It's going to take her a little bit more time, but I think within the next month or so, we should really start to see her open up. But also, Coach Quinn has to trust her, right? You can't just pull her every time she makes one little mistake. She's got to learn how to work through it. I think Lee Rue has impressed me more so than Ezzy. And I don't know if Ezzy's still tired after playing year round and just coming off of that championship win with her international club.
Hmm.
But I would like to see Lee start in place of Ezzy and give Ezzy a little bit of a break and a little bit of a reset. And the thing is, when I say I want to see someone start in place of somebody else, I'm not saying, oh, they're playing like ass, they need to be benched. What I'm saying is they need that motivation to say, okay, hey, I got to step my game up. I got to get out here and start producing. I've got to play a little bit better. And sometimes coming off of the bench for a couple of games will do that for you. We saw it
Right.
with T-Mac, right? We saw the motivation there. Um, and I think Gabby's going to look like Olympics Gabby Williams pretty soon. I
Hmm.
think she's on track. Her game against Dallas, that was the best I've seen Gabby look in a while.
Hmm. No, I'm really glad that you brought up Lee Rue. She is one of my favorite players. I don't mind the thought of her starting in place of Ezzy, especially when you put it that way, giving them a mental reset. I think that's really important because basketball is strategy, right? So
Yep.
coaches have to have strategies within their team, just like they have strategies on the court. And I think that would be a good strategy to have Ezzy really lock in because she's just not looking like herself right now. And not having a break, just being a little burnt out can do that for you. It's interesting that we pretty much named off most of the people on the team, but Lexi Brown. Lexi Brown hasn't really contributed much, and I'm
Nope.
hoping to see that change, because we know that she's a scorer. To your point about Dominique, I don't know if she was being pulled after a few mistakes. I think that she was just giving her time, and then sometimes your time just runs out. Like I don't know if it was
Yeah.
necessarily being pulled after mistakes, but that first game, baby was looking like she had brand new legs. Like she was looking like, after the giraffes have the baby and like how
Yep.
the baby trying to figure out how to walk. That's what it was looking like. So I think sometimes, being pulled early could be preventative from a player losing their confidence if they're still trying to brace themselves. That last time out against Phoenix, she looked a lot stronger on defense. I think there were moments that she defended AT really well, and I like the minutes that she got in those games. Honestly, I don't know how soon it's going to be for us to really see her contribute in the W because when I was looking over her numbers before she entered the league, just her numbers in EuroLeague or international ball, they weren't really like high numbers. It's not like she was dominating internationally. I think that she was a solid player. Maybe I would consider her a role player internationally. So she's
Yeah.
still trying to reach role player level in the W. I don't know if she stands out for maybe a season or two.
That's true. I do think that it's going to take a lot more time. And I think part of it is a lot of us were so hyped at the fact that like, oh my God, we have someone other than BG that's actually gonna dunk in a game, you know? Because yes, we still want to see dunks. Like, it still excites a lot of us. But I think we were all so enamored by that we didn't really think about, hey, like you're 19, you're the youngest player in this league,
Right.
and now you're starting to adjust to being in a league that you've never played in. And yeah, the physicality of international play is obviously a little bit more than the physicality of the W, but I think just the spacing, the dealing with different defensive sets. When you got to guard an AT, or you got to guard a Maisha Hines Allen, or you got to go up against an Asia Wilson or a Stewie or a Fee, that's going to take a lot of adjusting for you to be able to adjust and make different plays on.
Right. But someone who isn't taking a lot of time to adjust is Satou Sabally in her new role in Phoenix. She has been going crazy. She's averaging 22 points, 6 rebounds and 2 assists across the 3 games. She looks confident, happy, healthy, a little spicy. I'm
Yep.
loving this era of Satou and Phoenix. I also think this offense fits her style. In general, I think the Phoenix overhaul was in their favor. AT is averaging 18, nearly 8 rebounds, and nearly 7 assists. That's a 2 point jump from what she averaged through her first 3 games in Connecticut. Monique McConney, she's been great. Lexi Held is coming strong for them off of the bench. Catherine Westbell and Sammy Whitcomb have been solid. Despite the absence of Kalia Copper and Natasha Mack, Phoenix looks like contenders to me. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, they definitely do. And also, is it just me or did AT's spin get a little faster?
Oh, yeah, it
Because that
definitely did.
right? Okay. I was watching that game. I was like, I've never seen that ponytail spin so fast as she was driving to the hoop. But no, AT is looking like she's AT and Satu both look like they're putting together MVP caliber seasons right now.
hmm
And the crazy part is they don't even play all 40 minutes of what they're doing.
Mm,
Like Phoenix has such a balance within their roster that it's not required for them. They have
yeah.
people who are going to come in and step up. Sammy's look good, to your point. Catherine Westbell. I've been on the Cat Westbell train since preseason. I wanted the Westbell sisters, both of them, to be in this league. And now you have Cat, who is made her way into the starting lineup. She's looking good. Even their other rookie Kitsia Laxka, she hasn't looked too bad on the defensive end in a couple of the games that she's played. I would love for her foul trouble to go down just a little, just a hair. But other than that, I'm really enjoying what I'm seeing out of them. And I think I was never really a fan of Girl Dad as a coach, and it's just because I didn't like the offense that he was running, and I didn't like that Phoenix was literally one of the worst defensive teams last season. But I think that's going to change. I think this season they could be top five in defense just of their schemes. They're also running zone. They're man to man. They have a lot of help side coming. I do think that they're going to be one of the top five teams that we see defensively ranked.
Yeah, I think you're right. Phoenix is one of those teams that's going to be hard to beat this season. And to your point, defensively, they did let go of, BG
Hmm.
and DT, who are both defensive liabilities at the point in their career that, he got there. So
Right.
with the overhaul, I think it just did them a favor all the way around. So yeah, we gotta keep Phoenix on our radar.
Yes, definitely.
So are there any rookies that you feel like are having a hard time adjusting?
The only rookies I think that are having a hard time adjusting are the ones that aren't getting a lot of playing time. Those are the ones I see that are having a really hard time adjusting right now. And it's just because they're not getting the opportunities to get touches, or if they're in, they're only in for like a minute, minute and a half. And one of those rookies is Sanaya Fagan. She's not really getting played a lot in LA. And obviously we're not in practices. I don't know what the issue is there, but I think she's having trouble adjusting. I think Elizabeth Kitley was having trouble adjusting at first, but she's looking a little bit better. Um, yeah, those are the only ones I really have that are having trouble adjusting. How about you?
Honestly, I think that Paige is having a harder time to adjust. And now, hear me out because she's still having great stats. I say this with her
Right.
being a top 5 player in assists to turnover ratio. But what I mean is more so on the mental side of the game and knowing when to take over a game, when to step
Yeah.
outside of the script. I think that even though, they might not have a script from what it sounds like offensively, she's not taking enough risks. She may have to lose a bit of her efficiency in doing this, but I would like to see her take more risk offensively and just take over the game. I also think that Tahina Pow is, even though she's off to a balanced start, I think the physicality and pace have been harder to adjust for her. I catch her falling more often than I see her
Yeah.
fall in her college career. I don't know why, like if it's balance, strength, or a mixture of both, but those are things I like to see her work on. Aaliyah Nye is struggling to really get going in the Aces system. Six of her seven field goal attempts have been threes, and she's hit one. So,
Yeah,
truthfully, it would be hard for anyone, though, to come in for 10 minutes a game with a roster like the Aces and have to not second guess every shot. It's like you have a roster like the Aces, you probably want to pass it to Jewel Lloyd or Jackie Young because you start to
exactly.
question yourself. So my thing with her is it may be a confidence thing. So she just has to continue to prepare and stay ready for the moment. And Sanaya Rivers is off to a tremendous start. I don't agree with Coach Mezian benching her after a couple of mistakes in that loss to Minnesota. I thought she was
Yeah.
too important to the team's flow to not end that game on the court. And JC Sheldon subbed in and made a costly mistake. So I'd say the improvement that I want to see for her so she can stay in the game in those moments is her decision making and her shot selection because I think that's what he was really upset about. There were times that she went off script and kind of put up some shots that weren't the best shot selections and also cut down on her turnovers.
Yeah, I mean, she also held Courtney Williams to 0 for 11,
Hmm.
which we know how good Courtney Williams is. So
She was picking
to
her pocket.
exactly. So I think that I think with more trust, he'll be a little bit better with her. One thing I forgot to add earlier, because you know how I love bragging on our rookies. I just want to point out Kiki. Kiki has had three straight double doubles for the first three games. Yeah, not three. I'm sorry. The first game she didn't have a double double, but these last three games she's had three straight double doubles, which she's the first rookie in Mystics franchise to do so. She's now joins only four other players in their rookie season for having three straight double doubles, which are Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, and Satou Sabally. And she's also the first rookie since Stewie to have 30 rebounds total over 3 games.
Wow. That's big.
Yeah, yeah,
Shout out to her. So with that said, on that note, are there any sophomore improvements? So, sophomores will be our second year players, like JC Sheldon, Rakia Jackson, Camila Cardoso, Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark. Have you seen any improvements from them? I know it's early, but just want your opinion
yeah.
on that.
So JC, I've definitely seen a lot of improvement with her. She's a lot more confident with her mid-range, her drives to the basket, as well as her threes. Her defense has always been there, but I feel like her defensive intensity has gone up a little bit more. I would love to see her cut down on those turnovers. For Rakia, I thought Rakia looked good before she went out with the concussion.
Hmm.
There was a couple of mid-range shots that she didn't necessarily hit, but I thought she was being more aggressive. She was crashing the boards more. Her three ball has improved. And for Angel, I I don't know what's going on with her right now. And I would love for Tyler to give the point forward experiment a break for now. It's not working. It's not working right now, and it's harder. I think it's harder on Chicago when they have her running the point forward. And the only reason I say that is because Angel's assists have always been there, right? Her passing has always been good, but the team relies on Angel to get rebounds. And we have seen in so many instances where one of her teammates will back off of getting a rebound because they assume Angel's going to get it. And I think having her as a point forward and having her more on the perimeter, that's not helping anyone get motivated to get rebounds. So I think it's gonna be something of maybe do a little point forward on some plays, but not all the plays until the rest of the team is gonna start stepping up and getting rebounds. Um, for Caitlin, and I already know I'm gonna get all of the remarks, but Caitlin's handles are not good. She needs to work on her handles. She needs to work on creating space instead of pushing off all the time. And her defense is lacking. Yes, she's staying with her man, but she's still getting beat on defense. And when she's getting beat on defense, she's getting frustrated and she's lashing out. And that needs to stop. The tantrums are getting old. Like this is your second year in the league, and I'm not seeing that much growth. You're not even attempting a mid-range shot as much.
Yeah, well, two. the point of, the point forward position with Angel, I think what's going on with the sophomores is that they're all adjusting to new environments. Like all of the ones that we just mentioned are either in a new place altogether or have a new coach.
Yeah.
So I think that they are still finding time to adjust. And I've seen people mention, that Angel and Camilla are in a sophomore slump. But I don't know if that it's a slump when they are being called to do completely new things. And Caitlin Clark, I think that her defense I haven't seen any improvement in necessarily her off-ball defense. I think that Indiana as a whole has improved their defense under Stephanie White. So maybe she's improved in other areas defensively, like on the help side.
Hmm.
But I can't say that her on-ball defense has improved. Rakia Jackson was looking to be one of the most improved sophomores if she hadn't have had the concussion. You know,
Right.
it looked like she was taking more threes. Her accuracy on those attempts were up a little bit. JC Sheldon is pretty on track to what she was in Dallas, to be honest. But I can say that she looks like she's taking more shots, which I want her to do. It looks like she's a little more confident in what she can do offensively. I think it took her a while to hit that place in Dallas until maybe more of like maybe the mid-season, but I think that she looks relatively the same. She's just in a new place. So maybe we'll see more, of an improvement as the season goes on. I don't
Yeah.
know. Right now it's just been a few games. So we'll see, right? We'll continue to watch that stat.
Yes.
Now, speaking on the same note of development, did you hear what Gilbert Arenas said?
Yeah. I watched all 30 minutes of are you talking about the interview that he did with or the podcast he did with Cheryl Swoops as well as Nick what's his name? Swaggy P uh as they call him. Yeah, I
Well,
was it
for
that
for
one?
those who don't know, before we get
Yeah.
into it, for those who don't know, Gilbert Arenas said that Caitlyn and Angel's rivalry is, good for the WNBA and that W fans should be capitalizing on its momentum. He also talked about the toxic fans being in every sport, and we can't have it both ways. We can't say that we want more fans than complain about the type of fans that we get. We have to deal with it. And he also talked about WNBA players having bad form and compared them to Rudy Gobert. So
Yeah.
those specifically were the comments that I was curious about how you felt about those.
Listen, I am pro all men with a podcast should have their microphones taken away. That's always been me. But I don't like what he said about their form because I feel like a lot of players have really good form and Rudy Gobert is just Rudy Gobert ain't good in most cases, but he'll step it up when he needs to. I didn't like that. I do see what he's saying about the with growing the league, you're gonna get more toxicity within it, right? That is expected. That's in any sport. I think the difference is how you approach that toxicity and address that toxicity, right? Because recently, when we look at when the Warriors were playing the Timberwolves in the Western Conference playoffs, one of the fans were had a monkey shirt or was making monkey gestures toward Draymond Green, and the Wolves actually handled it swiftly, right? They got that man out of there. He's no longer allowed to come to games. But that's the thing, like you have to take action with those toxic fans in order to keep the game growing and keep it positive for not only the players but the fans. Like we're gonna get that. We know that we're gonna get that, but these other leagues are taking action and doing something different, which is what I haven't seen the W do yet. So that's the only part I disagree with him on is yeah, we're gonna have more toxicity, but action needs to be done as well. He also said that Caitlin Clark was the villain, and I disagreed with him on that because I don't think that she was made out to be the villain. I think, unfortunately, the narrative from the fans and the media was that the other WNBA players were the villain and she wasn't. which I get it. Someone's got to be a villain, but I just wish our villainy, that's not even a word, but I just wish that I I wish that our talk of villain wasn't always a black player, you know?
Yeah, I think honestly it depends on who you're asking. Like,
True.
if you ask, and that was one of the points that he was making that, the W should play up the race. He said that the W should play up the race car. If white people want to root for Caitlin Clark, let them do it. If the black people want to root for Angel Reese, then let them do it. So I think
Hmm.
it may depend on who you're asking if you ask who the villain is. Personally, I don't see Indiana or Caitlin Clark as a villain. I see them as attempting to be the victim. I see them as a
Yeah.
group of Karens, and I'm just gonna keep it. I'm gonna keep it straight up. I do agree with your point. To the W has to do a better job of just removing fans when they're acting out. But then in that case, they're gonna have to be a lot more direct in their rules to do that, right? So
Correct.
the monkey shirt, that is a play straight up on racism, right? That's a trope
Hmm.
that we're familiar with. Last season, when there was a woman that dressed up very goofily, like
Oh
she
my
had on like these
gosh.
long fake things that were
Yep.
going off as like nails. She was essentially she was imitating Dejanay Carrington after the infamous eye poke. Now,
Yep.
is that a scenario that would draw the line in removing a person? I don't necessarily think that is an attack at a protective class. So I don't know if that is too much for her to be removed. Now, if she did all that extraness and then she was also taunting Dejanay and just going really overboard, then that's a different thing. So I think there has to be more like just a clearer line that's drawn between what the WNBA is going to protect and what they're not. When
Yeah.
fans are starting to go overboard and all the things that happened in Indiana when Chicago went, that has to be nipped in the bud and they have to take it seriously. So I definitely agree. I
Yep.
don't agree with, all WNBA players have bad form. I think that that was a super hyperbole, but there are cases where there are a lot of missed layups. And that's what he went on to say. He went on to say that, he's about 10 years removed from calling the WNBA games because players are jumping off the wrong foot when they lay it up or they're missing a lot of wide open layups or, honestly, that is the case. There is a difference in between the W and the NBA when it comes to that sort of thing because there's a difference in men and women just to keep it real and men
Correct.
are jumping a little bit higher. The layup, they don't even they probably do more dunks than layups, who knows, but the ability to do a layup for a man is not as difficult as it is for a woman who is coming in a lot of times shorter. And we just don't jump as high. So there is some differences in the difficulty of those shots. I don't think that every player has bad form, but I do think that there is a gap in development for women, and that goes a lot deeper than what we even have time for. I have another video
Yeah.
that goes into depth about what I feel about the development side of women's basketball, but I do see where he's coming from. I think that that was a hyperbole and just him being the ignorant guy that he can be sometimes. But I appreciate
Right.
him even bringing up the conversation on Gil's Arena because it does shed some light on the W. And I think that he's right. We can't control the type of fans we're going to get, and all publicity can be used and turned around for our good. Now, moving on to foul merchants in the W, because that on that podcast is the same podcast that I talked about development in the W. But I mentioned uh, Caitlin Clark being a foul merchant after her performance in the Atlanta matchup. I stand by those comments. I think it proves even more true in the final moments of the game against the New York Liberty, where instead of attempting to put up a shot in good faith, she reverted to attempting to draw a foul. You know,
As someone said, was she trying to fly? Because she looked like she was trying to fly.
So in that same video, I asked the question of how do teams counter, because we know that she's going to do that. And to that point, I think Natasha Cloud did an excellent job throughout that entire game. I don't know if, you're familiar with the term show your hands, but that's what Cloud did. She showed her hands to the refs constantly. She used her body a lot more to defend than she did using her hands. The refs will allow you to place a hand on the offensive player at times, but it can't live there. And when it
Right.
does, Clark does a really good job at hooking you to make sure the ref calls the foul. And instead of getting caught in that, Cloud took her hands out, and played fundamental defense. And she just moved, she moved her feet and she had great timing in swiping away the ball on that final play. Now, I will say Clark is not the only player in the W or any league that does this. A different variation of being a foul merchant is what happened in the Aces matchup against Washington. Jackie Young did a great job at kicking her feet out to force
Yeah.
contact from the defensive player to crash into her landing space. She caught Lucy Olsen, I think, twice.
Yep.
Yeah, and another great example of how to counter this is what the Liberty did against Clark, who habitually falls after 3-point attempts to draw fouls. They simply just run past her. Like they contest the shot and they run past her. I saw Sabrina Ionescu and Cloud do that. But what are your thoughts on foul merchants in the W? Is it a concern? How do teams counter?
I don't think it's a concern. I think it really comes down to discipline on defense, right? Which I think we're missing that with a lot of players. You brought up a good point of Tosh using her body instead to counter the foul that Caitlin was trying to draw. And I think that's what it breaks down to is using your body and maneuvering and manipulating your body in a way where that foul is not going to be drawn against you. I mean, a good example of that too is how Sabrina, when she went in on that second to last play in Indiana and drew the foul against Lexi Holt to hit some timely free throws. Like she knew that Lexi was coming up on her side, so she angled her body right. She can draw that foul off of Lexi. And to Lexi's credit, she didn't move her hand, right? And that's why they called the foul. So I think it's all about body manipulation. I think it's about um being a little bit stronger on your defense. I think that's ways to counter it. Now, if you have someone obviously throwing their whole body into you, as you said, run past them or like step away and create a little bit more space, and then the rest will be able to see, okay, that's a flop. I do also believe, though, that the W should take what the college does, which if you flop, that's a technical foul.
Mm.
I think that they should start implementing that as well. Because some of these flops are egregious. You mean to tell me you can hit a three, no problem, but all of a sudden someone's a little close to your arm and you drop like the toys from Toy Story? Come on now.
I have to disagree. I think it is a concern. I think what Jackie Young did in that game against Washington was egregious. I'm just gonna keep it
Okay.
like I think that the WNBA is going to have to do what the NBA did when I think James Harden did it a lot. Steph Curry was doing it. Like they would call that as an offensive foul. I think if you kick your foot out on a three to try to draw contact, because if a defensive player does that, they get into your landing spot, that is a technical. So
Correct.
if the offensive player, there has to be some repercussions for that. And I want to see them crack down on it because these newer players, these younger players are, I think, just as worse as Caitlin Clark. Like coming up, like
Yep.
because honestly, like a lot of post players, I've seen a lot of post players start to do that hooking and holding, going up on rebounds. So I think they have to crack down on it because these newer players are going to use that. They're going to see that Caitlin's getting away with it, Jackie's getting away with it, and they're going to do it even more.
Yeah, yeah. I can see that. I could definitely see where it can become a big problem.
Now, moving on and closing out, we have some really big matchups. So keep the Aces and Storm matchup on your radar and watch out for my recaps for that. We got the Sky versus the Mercury coming up on Tuesday, the Dream versus the Sparks, Fever versus Mystics. We just got some really, really exciting matchups coming up. And I just want to say that I appreciate everyone's support and for tuning into each episode. We're growing each week. If you're a first time listener, please like, subscribe, share this content. If you weren't aware, my mission is to make it out to every city with the WNBA team and experience their home gyms live and in person and give you guys a vlog and tell you how it all went. This is an inexpensive and ambitious goal, I know, but I always shoot for the stars. If you'd like to donate to my mission, please find the GoFundMe link in my description. I know this economy is tough, so if you can't give, I completely understand. Please just do me the favor of commenting and sharing my content on Facebook and TikTok. You can find me on both platforms at Cassie Chantel. That helps tremendously. Or if you have some tickets laying around and you're not gonna be able to go, I take those donations as well. You can follow my co-host on Threads at Daedria101. Daedria, do you have any final words?
Yes, if anyone is going to be at the Mystics Fever game in Baltimore on Wednesday, please say hello. I will be there as well. And I'm also going up to Connecticut to see the Sun take on the Phoenix in September. So
Ooh,
I'll be back in my home state for a little bit.
ooh, I love it. I love it. I gotta meet you out there too. I gotta go. I gotta figure that out.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. Thanks again, Hoops Tribe. And as always, let's talk hoops.